It's another Enough Already podcast. I'm Fingers Malloy, outside today with a cigar and a beer. Joining me is the very lovely Tracy L. Connors. Hello, Tracy.
Hello, Fingers.
You look very nice today.
It's all about the lens.
It's all about the lens.
The lens and the lighting.
It's clean, good living with you though. So there's no
not all.
cigar and booze in your hand right now.
I've got my vape, and I could go and get booze.
You know, at one point, we talked about doing a podcast drunk.
Well, we've recorded ourselves drunk. We've never shared that with anybody.
That would be fun. But, last week we talked about how I was going to start meditating. And thank God I have 2 weeks left to start on my free trial on that app. But,
does the counter start the second you open it?
I think so.
Wah, wah.
Right, which is a bummer. I've been so slammed, Tracy.
It's 10 minutes a day, dude.
I know, but I have to get myself psyched up to like make major life changes. And believe it or not, taking 10 minutes out of, because I feel like I have to do it in the morning. I would like to do it in the morning before I start my day, and I start my day at 4:30 in the morning. So I say to myself, okay, I'm going to set my alarm 15 minutes early, and then I hit the snooze instead. Because
snoozing is terrible for you. Did you know this?
I didn't know it was terrible for you. I just know it's bad. It's actually unhealthy?
Well, it's bad for you because normally if you wake up without an alarm, then you're going to wake up at the proper time in your sleep cycle. Mm-hmm. But if you snooze, you might get into REM sleep, which is the deeper sleep. And if you come right out of that on an alarm, it's no good. You want to have complete cycles throughout the night. So a cycle can take anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, I believe. So what you're doing is making yourself more tired, and then your brain's all fuzzy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you're doing that to yourself with your snooze.
Oh, well, see, I just figured that was because I take 2 3-hour naps a day. I take a 3-hour nap when I'm done with my day job, and then I wake up, and then I'm up until 1 o'clock in the morning, and then take another 3-hour nap, and then start my day. I figured that was why my brain is so fuzzy.
It's probably that too.
But no, we talked for a while about, and we can get into all the politics and stuff in a little bit, but I'm bored by everything. So
I've got some good stories you probably haven't seen that won't bore you.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just going to say you were doing the carnivore diet for a while.
Yes.
And now you stopped doing that. Are you doing keto? Because I'm starting keto tomorrow. You're just being a regular Jill.
Well, I'm back on my normal restrictive diet. And then I allow myself, it was dubbed Fat Kid Friday, but Fat Kid Friday doesn't always fall on a Friday. So I'll usually allow and sometimes it rolls over multiple days.
Oh, I see.
But I used to allow myself Fat Kid Fridays, which is just go all out.
So it could be a waistline Wednesday.
Waste your line Wednesday. Yeah. Get wasted. Get wasted on wine Wednesday. And yes.
Well, I loaded up on the keto stuff last night.
You're talking about all the keto
shopping.
Cheat stuff, right?
Well, I got stuff like, listen, I'm just calling it keto instead of saying Atkins because Atkins sounds so 1996.
Well, it's a different thing too.
Yeah.
Atkins is more protein, keto is more fat.
Yeah. But a lot of the principles are the same, especially regarding, carbs. So I got a lot of low carb stuff, like low carb tortillas. I've got the 0 carb bread. You're already shaking your head.
Yeah.
I know. You just think I should just dump it all together, just eat meat, right?
Well, at least for the induction phase. I'm saying just go a week. See if you can do that.
I'm not kidding. If I did what you did, which you were on the carnivore diet for, what'd you say, 4 months?
I did 90 days.
90 days. I'm fairly certain I would lose 60 pounds in 90 days. Now, keep in mind, I'm starting at, a hot pocket away from 300 pounds when I'm saying this. So body percentage, the percentage of body weight is different, or it's not all that different than, say, someone who is a lot weighs a lot less than me, who loses less weight. But I have done that before, where I've had 0 carbs in my diet, and it would be just meat and salad and ranch dressing that had 0 carbs in it, and I would lose 17 pounds in 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
It just melts off. It's crazy. So I get to the point where I worry that if I do this one too many times, my heart will pop like a zit.
Well, I think it's the jumping back and forth that's really what screws up with your system.
Oh.
So my understanding of the carnivore diet, and this will be a rehash for everybody that's listened to that whole saga, was because I've done such drastic dieting and extremes when it comes to this, that the entire idea of going with like a clean diet or a reduction diet, where be it if you're just going to eat fruit, there are people that are fruitarians and that's all they eat, or the meat diet, so super restrictive. What's happening is your entire body is resetting, and that takes a long ass time. So the first week on that, when I was just eating 0 carbs, bacon, eggs, sausage, hamburger, steaks, whatever, I lost 9 pounds.
Wow.
Like, boom. But then I started gaining. And so I started reading, because I'm freaking the hell out, going, what is wrong with me? And like, if you've had that kind of diet history prior to doing this, your body has been so freaked out that it needs time to chill. So I kept being like, okay, well, when do I get past the chilling out stage and to start losing stage? Because I did get used to it. Like, it didn't seem to be a burden. Shopping was fantastic, because I would just go to the meat counter at the farmer's market and say, I want that ribeye, cut it up, 1.5 inches. Thank you. I'm done my shopping for the week.
Right.
And it worked out to being about what I spend normally on grocery shopping. So it was a wash. But I'm like, I can't keep gaining weight. And at the time, the gyms were closed and all that nonsense. So that didn't help with it. But I apparently didn't get to my body reset. So now I used to kind of fluctuate around a certain number, 2 above, 2 below. And now that number's been raised by about 5, and I seem to be stuck there. And so I'm thinking it's probably been about 90 days since I quit doing carnivore. Has my system gotten back to where it was before? I don't know. And now I see these commercials. Have you seen the ads when you're watching Rogan clips? And I'm not going to remember the name of this silly thing, but you breathe into it, and it tells you whether or not you're burning carbs or fat for energy at the time.
It's like a carbolizer test?
Sure, if you want to call it that. It's a
breathalyzer. Breathalyzer for carbs.
Yes. Yeah, and then it'll suggest what you should eat. And say, you're about to go to the gym, you breathe into it, and it's like, should I eat something before I work out? Do I have enough energy? Those kind of things.
How much does that run?
I want to say it's like 250 or 300 maybe.
Wow. That's dedicated. It's funny. I wouldn't think anything of spending that on some sort of electronic device, for entertainment purposes, an iPad or a cheap laptop. But if you're really investing the time and energy into trying to get yourself into shape, and if that thing really works, that's probably a great investment. And by the way, they aren't a sponsor of the show.
No, I can't even remember what the damn thing's called. I'll look for it. Every time I try to look for it, I Google like breathalyzer, because I remember I did this before for because I'm like, breathalyzer diet aid. I don't know what else to call it.
There's just so many amazing things out there now. I was over the weekend. I'm originally from Michigan, and I used to listen to this sports talk radio host who was a columnist. He was very well known in the Detroit area, and somewhat known nationally. His name was Jamie Samuelson, and he passed away on Saturday night, 48 years old, colon cancer. And he was diagnosed when he was 46. And from everything I've heard, took very good care of himself, jogger, ate right, just the randomness of cancer. You just want to make sense of it and you can't. And so he didn't tell anybody. He told no one. He was showing up at work, didn't lose his hair, had a full head of hair. And he always looked fit, so nobody really noticed. He didn't really lose any weight on chemo. And then Monday, he had to call into the show because he was getting weak. And he said, "Hey, just so you guys know, I have colon cancer. Go get a colonoscopy." And then he was gone on Saturday.
Wow.
But where I'm going with this is, they kept mentioning, and I can't remember the name of it, but if you can't afford a colonoscopy, there's this test, this at-home kit where you can send in a stool sample, and apparently there are things that they can detect in your poop that can red flag you, and it'll red flag and tell you, hey, maybe you need to take care of this because you may have something in there that lets them believe that that you have colon cancer. It's like, wow, okay, so you can poop in a box, and you may find out from that you got colon cancer. You got this little carb breathalyzer machine that could tell you,
I'm just
hey,
picturing these
snack.
boxes of shit getting lost in the mail.
Right?
Yeah. And who's got to receive those on the other end?
They're underpaid.
Yeah.
Talk about a shitty job.
Well, this thing I found it's called Lumen.
Okay.
And apparently it's measuring your CO2. So if your CO2 is high, that means that you're burning carbs for energy. And if your CO2 is low, that means you're burning fat. So if the green team gets a hold of this information, they might force us all onto the meat diet. They're going to have to reverse course.
Well, I'm thinking too, that would be much more pleasant to use than peeing on a stick to see, if you're in ketosis.
Well, they're breathalyzers for ketosis too. And I don't know that if they measure CO2 or what. I thought they measured ketones that you breathe out. And there's also people use like the same kind of testing that you would for diabetes. I think it's almost the same blood sugar level tester. So there's people that are hardcore into this that test their blood 3-4 times a day.
Yeah, it's crazy. When I was doing the research for, I think it's called Love and Fresh.
That bread?
Yeah, that zero carb bread where they just load it up with fiber to cancel out the carbs.
Yes, so it's not zero carbs.
It's zero net carbs. So the way they get to, they cancel out a carb is they either load something up with sugar, alcohol, or fiber. So I believe this is loaded with fiber. And I was looking for reviews on YouTube. And a woman, she did this comprehensive review, like 25 minutes, and she had a piece of toast, 2 pieces of toast, I think, with this bread. Before she ate, she took she monitored her blood sugar to see where it was at, and then it was like 15 minutes after, 30 minutes after, an hour after, 90 minutes after. She kept monitoring it to see if this bread would spike her blood sugar, and it didn't. So she's like, see, this is a fantastic product. It won't spike your blood sugar because it didn't spike mine. So I said, oh, that's good enough for me.
There you go.
This woman's a hero. She
This woman pricked her finger 10 times to prove this to me. Yeah, it's a little nutty.
Yeah, I'm just surprised. I've talked to several keto people who are kind of like me, where they say, I'm going to do my best, but I'm not going to beat myself up if I have a cheat day. And there are other people that are like, you can't ever do that. You can't ever cheat. You just can't. And it's like, if I compare my diet to what it was before I started, where I would go to McDonald's twice a day sometimes. Sorry, I had a beer on a Saturday and I cheated. I mean, compare it to what I was doing.
But it's a semantical game is what's going on. So you would say the same thing if somebody says, I'm a vegetarian, but I eat a cheesesteak every once in a while. You would say you're not a vegetarian. So when you say I'm on a keto diet, and then you're like, and I drank a beer.
Yeah,
people are saying, no, you're not. So just stop saying it. Just say I'm on a diet.
Yeah. 98% of the time you're on a keto diet. I mean, it's kind of like the libertarians. Libertarians have the most strict litmus test. If you stray just a little bit from what someone believes to be a libertarian doctrine, like, oh, you're not a libertarian. It can be one thing. Oh, you're not a libertarian. It's like, okay.
Depends on who you're talking to, because there's a huge rift inside of that party right now.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. It's been going on for a while.
I haven't been paying attention since
Oh,
last
the
time I was
chick
told
that
I wasn't a
they,
libertarian.
the chick that they nominated. Well, I paid somewhat attention because I am registered as a libertarian. Although I got something in the mail from the NRSC asking me, they're like, you're one of our valued members. I'm like, you guys don't even know that I've been off of your rolls for 2 years. So it was something to fill out. So I was going to write, hey, dummies, check the voter rolls. Unless I'm on the voter rolls 2 times in the state.
Oh, so if you vote by mail, then you'd be able to vote twice. Wouldn't that be nice?
Of course. Well, I could do that anyway with vote by mail. I live in an apartment building. How easy is it for me to just pill for a few? I have neighbors that I know go away for the winter. They're like, check your mail for you. Don't have the post office hold it.
Oh, but that would never happen. People don't do stuff like that. They just send in their ballot and nobody else's.
Exactly. They're not registering fake addresses or.
Oh, I saw, I believe it was the spokesperson for the National Republican Committee say she was in a room with a reporter, and a reporter swore up and down that mail-in voting and absentee ballot voting were the same thing.
The reporter was saying that?
A reporter was saying that. I was like, what do you do? I mean, what do you do? This is what
I mean, can you
we're fighting against.
Go take them to like the state election board website and show them the difference? Because I mean, up until now there wasn't vote by mail, except in Oregon. I think the whole state is already vote by mail.
Yeah,
but an absentee ballot is a different thing. Absentee ballot doesn't get opened until the polls close that night.
Well, but you have to request
can come in
the
and
ballot.
vote. Yes, you have to request it ahead of time. Provide them a reason.
Send everybody a ballot. You know they don't keep the lists up to date. You know, I'm sure that you know, I have a family member who died last year. I'm sure that they'll send him a ballot, and if you know his wife were dishonest, she'd be like, "Oh, I get to vote twice," and just send it in. You know that happens. That listen, I don't know much about what goes on in Oregon, but I just have a hard time believing that the state of Oregon keeps that list up to date to the point where people who are dead, who aren't registered in the state and who moved, you can't tell me that they're so up to date. It's state government bullshit. They're sending out ballots to people who aren't living in the state or who assumed room temperature 3 years ago, and you know damn well somebody's gonna see that ballot and be like, yeah, okay, I'll fill it out. You know what happens?
No, there's no chance. It doesn't go on. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's once a year. And
it's once every other year.
Yeah, well,
or federally.
Well, yeah, federally, but I mean, for crying out loud, the presidential elections are the ones where you have to wait the longest. So once out of every 4 years, you're going to have maybe a little bit longer of a wait. The other 3 years in the 4-year cycle, it's cake walking in and voting. You know?
I mean, they could just do. I don't know why they're not just expanding early voting and trying to do. Remember, I mean, we weren't old enough, and I was barely born during the gas crisis in the 70s. Mm-hmm. And they just said, okay, if your license plate numbers, if you have an odd number license plate, you go get your gas these days, evens go these days. So, okay, if your last name starts with this, you can vote every Monday and Thursday from now until election day. We will keep the poll, early morning, just like they're doing with all the grocery shopping. That's for old people that are scared. Or anybody else that's immunocompromised. There's a way to do this where you can still go. I guess they worry then you have to pay the poll workers every day that the polls are open.
Yeah, it does cost more money, but I just don't understand. We've all known that COVID may be a thing on election day. go apply for an absentee ballot. If you said, I'm too scared to go to the polls, I don't want to get sick, you're going to get an absentee ballot. End of story. This whole song and dance about, oh gosh, we've got to make sure the election, it's secure and it's safe. And, oh, we need more vote by mail. Oh, Jesus Christ. Everybody just go apply for an absentee ballot. I did. It takes 2 minutes. It's like, going through the census survey. It's no big deal.
Yeah, I do it most of the time just in case I have to travel. Then it's already I have it and I can send it in. It just needs to be sent a couple days ahead of time. Yeah, but you can do that. And then if you show up on the day, you just tell them you have my absentee. And later when they're counting them, they just rip it up because I've been on the other end of it. Yeah.
But and that gives you the ability to change your vote. Say if you send it in way early and then you find out they do a cognitive test on the candidate you voted for, and the results are bad, then you can go in and you can vote for someone else. It's that simple.
Yes. Well, and speaking of Trump, I just saw a little bit before we started recording that Trump is pushing to have the debate, one of the debates moved up in the schedule because of early voting. So we need to have a debate before anybody goes and votes. And he's also asking for them to add a fourth debate. So he's just going to drive this into the ground with Biden, and he's got to come out and debate me.
It feels like every single time he has a significant interview, something bad happens, right?
Yes.
Something really, really bad. I don't know why they're having him talk.
They don't have a choice. Come on, now they're saying he's not going to Milwaukee. I don't know if you've seen this.
I did see that. Did anyone tell him yet?
I don't think he even knows that the convention is coming up. I don't know. I mean, this was announced the same day that I think you're talking about the interview that I sent you this morning where he was on. Was that guy Yahoo News?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull it up. I think I can do screen share on here and be fancy pants.
What an age we live in.
I know.
I would just refuse all interviews. I mean, honestly, the media's not going to call him out.
He can't get away with it.
Why can't he? The media's not going to call him out on it. Oh, so Fox News calls him out on it. Who cares? You think MSNBC is going to call him out? You think CNN's going to call him out? New York Times or the Washington Post? Washington Post, for Christ's sake, wrote, printed a piece the other day where the headline was Trump thinks, I'm paraphrasing, Trump thinks communist China is a threat. The young Chinese see it as the way of the future. It's like, holy Christ. Holy crap. Did you just print that? I expect that from some woke 22-year-old who just graduated from Berkeley. But someone on the editorial staff said, yep, looks good to me. Run it.
It happens. It happens. All right. So I'm not sure if this audio will come through, but let's give it a shot. Can you hear it?
No.
Oh, wow. I know there's a way to do it. Let me stop sharing for this for a second. And you keep talking and I'll figure this out. Because I saw it somewhere in this Zoom thing.
No, but how on earth can a piece like that be printed? It's straight out Chinese communist propaganda. And the Washington Post is siding with the Chi-Coms to own Trump. It's absolutely crazy. The amount of hatred for him, to blind you that much to what China is, what China has been doing. Mm-hmm. It's simply amazing what Trump derangement syndrome has done to people. It's broken news organizations. It's broken people on the right who just can't. They're still sobbing in their corner, clutching onto an 8x10 of Marco Rubio, thinking what might have been. And it's amazing to watch. And what's even more amazing, they make me sound like the biggest Trumper on the planet. Yeah. But you just sit back, you're like, this is freaking crazy. The Chinese youth think the communist government in China is the way of the future? What?
Yes, of course they do. I don't know why that's confusing to you.
It's just maddening. And if I were the Biden camp, I would just be like, how long can we keep this guy under wraps? I mean, how long?
Yeah.
Okay, he wants to be interviewed by people. Okay, well, just set up a camera and tell him he's on TV. Just put somebody on the other end. He'll never know.
I don't think they can afford to do it, even though he's so terrible every single time.
Every single time. Every single time it's something. I wish you could pull that audio up because it's really something.
I got it now. I've got a way to do it.
Look at you.
Okay. Well, it's just silly. I can't believe that Zoom hasn't gotten better at all of this.
Freaking Chinese.
It is. And on with Yahoo News.
Come on, man. That's like saying you, before you got in this program, if you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not, what do you think, huh?
So he was asked by the commentator, which is cut off in the beginning, if he's taken a cognitive test. So let's just start that. Imagine you ask the question, excuse me, former Vice President Joe Biden, have you taken a cognitive test?
Have you taken a cognitive
No,
test?
I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. That's like saying you, before you got in this program, if you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not, what do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
What do you say to President Trump?
This
I just did a spit take all over my microphone.
He is such an incredible fool.
Come on, man.
What are you, a junkie?
Now, listen, it's a lazy take, but it's a take that has to be made repeatedly. A white presidential candidate talking to a reporter of color on CBS News, throwing, hey, what are you, a junkie? Test you for drugs? Can you imagine if that were a white Republican talking to your pal Joy Reid? What the reaction would be? Heart palpitations.
But I mean, it's so incredibly stupid. As I pointed out to you, and you did, I immediately made this connection, and you apparently didn't. But I'm thinking, your son Hunter was a junkie that tested positive for cocaine, and that's why he got kicked out of the military. So now you're just reminding me of that and possibly linking the two. So it's like, oh yeah, Joe does have some experience dealing with coked up junkies. He has intimate experience with that. And that's what I would have said if I were that guy. But did you just call me Hunter? This is wildly inappropriate, but the guy was so nice to him. I would have been like, oh, hell no.
Which is amazing. And it once again just shows the difference. It was so kind. Just, let the old man rant. It's okay. Let him get all shaky fist at the cloud. It's fine. I'll just move on to my next question. He just doesn't know he's confused. He thinks he's in Milwaukee.
Even though he hasn't left his basement in 2 months. Longer. I think he's been in that basement since March.
Basement Biden. Yeah. They should keep him. They should keep him down there. I just don't get, what are you getting out of? Listen, if the polls are correct, and I don't think that they are, but if the polls are correct and he really does have anywhere from a 6 to 11 point lead nationally, and you're looking at some of the battleground states where he's ahead in Pennsylvania, he's ahead in Michigan, he's ahead in Wisconsin. What do you get out of having him on CBS in early August? There's nothing except an opportunity for him to be embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it.
They don't have a choice. They have to put him out there or people start speculating. He is old and senile, highly susceptible. This is why he can't go to Milwaukee. Because of COVID concerns.
Last week he gave a speech, and he walked up and he said something like, welcome to the Lapel Community Center. I'm paraphrasing. He goes, oh, I'm just kidding. It's where I used to work. This is a joke. You're like, wow, sure it was a joke. Can you listen? I am completely disgusted with the modern Democratic Party. I cannot believe they will not go out and repeatedly condemn the violence in our cities. I'm against 90% of what the modern Democratic Party stands for. I feel sorry for Joe Biden's staffers.
Do you?
I feel sorry for they're underpaid. I mean, I would hope that any reasonable person, if you are a Democrat and you're hiring next election cycle, and if he completely shits the bed, I would hope that they wouldn't go, oh, it was the staff's fault.
Oh, you mean if he loses? Not if he just continues to shit the bed.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, because he probably shit the bed this morning. It's possible.
Yeah. Just saying. It's a possibility.
Just
well, I'm looking at the betting markets. They still have Biden up 59-41 in the betting. I just keep throwing more money at Trump because I'm like, I think it's gonna happen. The Veep race is now the hot one, right? So Kamala's still in the head. It's way ahead over there at 56 cents. You
gotta explain this to me, because
yes.
I just don't understand. Okay, you have the two hot names over the weekend were Kamala and
Susan Rice.
Oh, see, it was there was a third name.
Karen Bass.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Karen Bass.
Mm-hmm.
She made these comments about Fidel Castro.
Mm-hmm.
She made comments. She gave a speech at the Church of Scientology praising L. Ron Hubbard.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at this. I'm thinking, okay, I believe her district is in California.
Mm-hmm.
So you have one candidate in Karen Bass who is not going to endear herself with the Cuban community in Florida by calling Fidel Castro commander-in-chief in Spanish after he died, romanticizing the Castro regime. And she's from California. Then you got Kamala Harris. You've got the Democratic Party. Their base right now is so anti-law enforcement and criminal justice system in general. And for a Democrat, she was very law and order in a big way. And she's from California.
Yes.
I don't understand if your base already doesn't like you. Okay. You're going to add Kamala Harris to the ticket? And
but is that a way to kind of split the difference and come back and say we are serious about law and order?
Could be, but I guess you have to really believe that people hate Trump so much on your side that they don't care. They just don't care. I'm going to go and I'm going to vote for whoever it is because I'm voting against Trump. And they may very well be right, but I don't know if Karen Bass hurts or helps Biden in a state like Florida. It seems like she may hurt him. And then either one of them, I don't see where they need to pick off Ohio. They need Ohio, need Michigan. They need to pick off a few of these battleground states. And I just don't see Kamala Harris or Karen Bass being a candidate that's like, oh, man, I was a little bit wary about Joe Biden, but we have the steady hand of Kamala Harris right there waiting just in case, or Karen Bass.
Well, Karen Bass is trying to throw a bone to the Bernie contingent.
Okay.
Would be my guess. That's the thinking there. No, I'm kind of convinced that Susan Rice is going to get it.
That wouldn't
now.
surprise me.
Well, it makes sense, and especially because, you know, I've been threatening to start doing a conspiracy podcast.
Mm-hmm. You should.
Well, it's in the works. We did a little test run over the last weekend. But I just thought, let me type in Susan Rice, Council on Foreign Relations. Guess what comes up? She's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Okay.
Uh-oh, they're
So
coming to get you.
yeah.
They're coming to get you.
I know, they are. They
This
hear me.
information's going to get out.
They hear me. They hear me. Well, I mean, this is public, right? This was
Yeah.
some website that I found, and the whole thing is, who is Susan Rice? Well, and get this, fingers. So not only is she a CFR member.
I'm sorry.
I know, they're coming to get me. They'll take me away. It's okay. That would help I would be no longer having Fat Kid Fridays. And there's a lot of good writing that's been done in prison and researching. So you got to think about this.
It's getting closer.
I know. Well, here's the deal. Once again, there is a fire station up the street that way. There's a gigantic hospital down the street that way. There's another fire station right over behind me, and the police station's across the street.
Oh.
So I live in the epicenter of all the sirens. So it's fun.
Wow. Has there been, and I don't mean to sidetrack you, but living so close to a police station, has there been craziness by your house? Because there's been so many protests at.
Here's the thing, and this is a side note that I didn't really even dig into, but my coworkers told me about it. I'm like, that can't be a thing. But there was a protest down the street and I should take pictures and put them up on Instagram so you can see what the police precinct looks like. It's this beautiful old mansion that they've converted into a police station. It's like the most non-threatening thing on this beautiful suburban street where the average home is probably $1 million to $1.5 million. Mm-hmm. It's suburbs as hell here, but 2 miles in the opposite direction. If you cross the street into downtown Reading, you would think that you were in 80. So anyway, there's a Walmart that's not too far from me, but it's in the jurisdiction of the local police department that's in the nice building, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So there was, I only know pieces of this story because it came up at work and I'm like, what happened? And they're like, oh yeah, this was all over the local news. I'm like, I don't even know where the local news channel is. Like I don't pay attention. So there was some gentleman who happened to be African-American, I believe, at the local Walmart. And he was test driving bicycles around the store, riding them up and down the aisles, and then apparently mouthing off at people and yelling at people. And
but what the key question that needs to be asked was he wearing a mask? Was he doing
I don't believe so. But here, I'll just pull this thing up so everybody can see it because it's.
Sorry, I totally got you sidetracked.
No, it's all right. Now I'm
Rice.
like, I should have read some more of this. I'll get back to Susan Rice. I haven't forgotten about exposing her deep state ties. All right. So the headline, this is from our local paper, which is called the Reading Eagle.
Ooh.
And for some reason, this one isn't behind a paywall because people always ask me, did you see that in the Eagle? I'm like, I'm not paying more than I would to have a subscription for the New York Times to follow the Reading local news. I don't care that much.
Well, so David McKeel would appreciate it if you would subscribe to the Reading Eagle.
Yeah, no. I bet you have more Twitter followers than he does, would be my guess. I probably don't, but who cares? Anyway, Berks County DA releases surveillance video of Wyomissing Walmart arrest and the second protest that was held. So this is this video of this guy here we go. I guess I got to read. Oh, it's not going to let me read it without showing all this dumb shit. Okay, on Monday, July 21st at approximately 6:27 p.m., the manager at the Wyomissing Walmart called the Wyomissing PD for assistance with a male riding a bike throughout the store while playing music and yelling obscenities to customers. The Wyomissing PD was informed that the male was asked to leave and refused. The manager also told police, that customers had complained to her that the defendant almost hit them with the bike. So this is the setup for this. And they had to release this because people started protesting. So now we're going to see this. And this, I haven't seen the video yet. So we're watching surveillance footage right now overhead. It looks like everybody's pretty much wearing masks, fingers.
Well, that's good to know.
I don't see this bicycle though. Show me the bike. All right, you jump ahead. Where's the bike? Still don't see the bike.
Oh, there he is.
All right, so it's an adult male, and he's on obviously a child-size bike there. And he doesn't seem to be pedaling. He seems to be dragging himself along with using his feet instead. Oh wait, there's another. Oh, that's a guy riding on the cart. Okay. So I don't know what's going on. He seems to have stopped there. Let's see.
Oh, here we go.
So we're at a different aisle now, waiting for the bicycle to come into frame.
I want to
kind of exciting.
Bicycle,
where is he going to come from? Oh, there he is. Came hot around a corner.
Oh.
People are pointing at him to get out the way. Now he's leisurely dodging some carts. And I think he ended up buying the bicycle.
And he got arrested after he bought
and
the
it says
bike?
the store manager's finding him. As the defendant rides a child-sized bike to the register, the store manager continues to follow him. The defendant switched lanes and cuts in front of multiple customers waiting in line. The manager instructs the cashier just to let him pay to get him out of the store quicker. Okay. So they're letting him pay. They're letting him pay. I don't know if this has the video of the arrest. Here he is. He actually bought the bike.
Well, he bought the bike.
Okay.
I mean, if they arrested every person who was spewing obscenities at a local Walmart, our jails around the country would be full.
This is true. So this sparked he gets arrested in the parking lot, and there was video of that was somewhere. But I think the video that was put out was just the second half of the whole thing. So it's just him getting arrested, saying he didn't do anything. And, okay, so they were called to the scene and waited nearby as he paid. They attempted to obtain his identification because officials from the store wanted to formally ban him from returning and needed that information. They said the district attorney said he wouldn't provide the information and attempted to leave. And that's when 2 Y missing officers took him into custody. So the arrest did not go smoothly. One of the officers used a taser on him. Okay.
Okay, well, I'm confused.
No, that's excessive. Uh-huh.
But why is it an arrestable offense if I don't provide identification to the store manager? Why is that an arrestable
I don't agree that it is. I don't agree that it is.
I mean, listen, if he was screaming obscenities, all joking aside, I would be pretty ticked off if I had my small children and you got some nutball riding through and threatening people with a bike and swearing at them. But I would think just a stern talking to by police officers would be enough.
Yes.
Instead of going full blown, throwing him in a cage.
And I don't know why you need his name to ban him from the store. Just put a photo up, and you guys have got cameras.
Oh, my name's Jim Johnson.
So this escalated to the point where there were protests going on outside of the police station, apparently. I had no clue, mind you, even though I can basically see it out my window. And I'm upset that I wasn't taking walks those days, because they said a group of about 40 people gathered outside of first the Walmart, and then they went to the police station. Then you've got some militia types that showed up, standing there with their AR-15s in case shit got out of hand. So then you've got the Black Lives Matter people because we're open carry here in Pennsylvania, they show up with guns. So it got a little heated, but I just have to laugh. Like, if you saw how seemingly idyllic it is here, to think that we're going to start some big, huge protest that ends in bloodshed is just so absurd to me.
But so you had militia types show up and they were armed. You had Black Lives Matter peeps show up and they were armed, and nothing happened.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. No gunfight at the YO Corral.
The Walmart Corral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was boring. But Susan Rice, the deep stater.
Susan Rice, who also is against people riding through Walmarts on bicycles, swearing at the town folk.
Of course she is.
As far as we know.
Let me see if I can find that same article that I had on my phone.
Is that a name that sizzles with the American people? It doesn't
Susan
have
Rice?
to. Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, she's now on the board at Netflix, I believe.
So
there were some interesting pieces of information that I found in here. So I'll share my screen again, fingers, for your edification. And
Thank
anybody
you.
that's choosing to
Is
join
Elizabeth
us.
Warren pissed off at this point, you think, or you think she doesn't want anywhere near this train wreck?
I don't know. I can't tell you what's going on in that woman's head.
Well, I was hoping you could, because I don't know what goes through any woman's head.
I know.
You're the whisperer.
She's probably hoping stay fit. Maybe I can make a run for this in 2024.
She's having a beer.
Yeah, she is. I think this is interesting. So this is some weird site called factmandu.com. And the photo they have of her is not her and her husband, Susan Rice. It's Susan Rice and Larry Wilmore, who had that short-lived Comedy Central show that they tried to push after Colbert left.
What's the name of that?
It was terrible. I don't know. Google it while I go through this. It was really bad.
Oh,
so,
shoot.
We've got who is Susan Rice? And this is where I came to find out. Well, let's just read her bio, because who the hell knows her aside from the fact that she was the one that was sent out on the Sunday shows to lie about Benghazi and then has been named in the unmasking of all the Trump campaign people. So Susan Elizabeth Rice was born November 17th, 1964, and is an American public official and a Democratic, and they don't capitalize that and it cracks me up, a Democratic who served, and I'm reading this verbatim, as the 24th U.S. National Security Advisor from 2013 to 2017. Rice was on the staff of the National Security Council, which, for anybody who wants to go deeper down the hole, the National Security Council was established due to the forces of the Council on Foreign Relations wanting to create this way to influence the president. So that comes about in the 1940s, I believe. Rice was on the staff of the National Security Council and was the Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs during President Bill Clinton's second term. She's a Brookings Institute Fellow. She served as the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations from 2009 to 2013. The U.S. Senate confirmed her as ambassador by unanimous consent on January the 22nd, 2009. She is a past member of the boards of directors of the National Democratic Institute, whatever the hell that is, the U.S. Fund for UNICEF, the Atlantic Council, and Internews Network. She's also a member of the Council on Foreign Relations and the Aspen Strategy Group. So my alarm bells go off when I see Council on Foreign Relations. So here, and this gets even better, I had more alarm bells when we're talking about who her parents are. So I'll skip through some of this, but her father was Emmett J. Rice. He was a Cornell University economics professor, and get this, fingers, the second Black governor of the Federal Reserve System. Uh-huh. And then her mother, and this is not in here, but I read it somewhere else, her mother is credited with inventing the Pell Grant. So they're both longtime, longtime public servants, and I put those in quotes.
Well, listen, we have friends who are on the Council of Foreign Relations.
I know. I find them to be suspect and questionable.
Really? I remember we had one person on the show, a good friend of mine who's on the Council of Foreign Relations. And now you're starting to make me wonder, because I asked her about it and asked her if they had a nice salad bar there. She did not answer the question.
Oh, man. So this was interesting to me. What is Susan Rice's salary? Her net worth is estimated at $30 million.
Jesus Christ. I mean, how does this happen?
Exactly. And listen, this is how they frame it. Her exact salary number is still not reported. And this is now, she's on the board of directors at Netflix. So who knows how much they make. Her major source of income is her political career and other various affiliations.
See, I brought this up. I did 2 hours fill in on Saturday night on WIBC in Indianapolis. They're still going on and on about Trump's tax returns.
What do they think they're going to find there?
They make it sound like Donald Trump does. He gets TurboTax out, and he's got his TurboTax disc, and he's fudging the numbers. And let me see here. I'll say that I donated an extra $300 to Goodwill because that's tax deductible. Ha ha! It's like we
we donated all of Melania's fur collection.
Yeah.
From the early 2000s to Goodwill. That's a $20,000 deduction.
Look, it's so ridiculous. I want to know if he broke the law. I do. But and what I've
The
like
idea that he had gotten away with doing that and hasn't had an audit constantly
right
going on is laughable.
But the left, they keep throwing stuff against the wall, hoping that something will stick. This will be the thing that brings him down. Oh, this will be the thing that brings him down. He didn't release his tax returns because there's something embarrassing in there. It's not embarrassing to, thinking folk who realize, okay, there are going to be years he's going to be able to write a bunch of shit off and probably didn't pay a whole hell of a lot in taxes or got a tax credit, something. But other years,
is it more that it's that what you're talking about, that people they won't be able to understand it? And so it can be parsed in a million different ways.
Yes, and they'll try to use it to embarrass him.
Right. He gets no benefit out of doing it.
Right. I'm not concerned about that. I don't give two shits about it unless he broke the law. What I care about is stuff like Susan Rice making $30 million, much of it as a public servant. Ilhan Omar. Ilhan. I always get her first name screwed up. I apologize. I know you're a big fan of the show. She, and this is totally apparently
acceptable.
It's not against the law. It's acceptable. Gave $660,000 to her husband's consulting firm. $660,000. Campaign funds, completely legal.
Yes.
I want to know how someone who, listen, the AOC was a bartender. She became a congresswoman. When she leaves, she will probably be, depending on how long she will be in office, and being that is she even 30 yet? Is she still in her 20s?
I think she's 30 now.
Say she stays in office, because that seat, unless they finally get so sick of her that someone primaries her and actually beats her, say she's in there for 20, 30 years. She will be worth $30-40 million. And I'll be like, what? How? And nobody asked those questions, but we need to see Trump's tax returns. We need to. It has to happen. If he broke the law, absolutely. Let's see him. But it's not like nobody's monitoring him. And, now once he became president of the United States, finally it'll be exposed that he's been breaking the law. Jesus Christ.
They don't have anything.
Nancy Pelosi's worth like $200 million.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Yeah. I looked it up recently because I can't. Let me see if I can find it quickly.
And this isn't an anti-Democrat thing. I'm the same way for Republican. And it happens all the time with Republicans too. How on earth can you go in as a congressman and be in there for 20 years and walk out being worth 20, 30, and in Nancy Pelosi's case, $200 million? Why doesn't anyone ask these questions?
And they say, it's with Pelosi, it's her husband, and he's made really good real estate decisions. And I know. Yeah, it's roll your eyes because it's bullshit. Yeah, I'm trying to find it because there was somebody was attacking Ivanka and Jared for how much money they were making as quote unquote like normal government employees, and it's like, really, guys, you want to play that game? Come on now. Anyway,
I mean, I don't understand. Look, it's just a mindset, I guess, because I become a congressman. Congressman Fingers Malloy in the whatever district of Indiana, the 1st district, whatever. I'm in there for 10 years. And if I get to the point where I've got $15-20 million built up, you would never see me again. That would be the end of it. But part of it too is the power.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a rush, and it's so addictive when you walk through Washington D.C. and you're Orrin Hatch and you
get to wear the little pin.
Yeah, you get to wear the little pin. You're 100 years old. You could barely walk into a restaurant. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh, Mr. Hatch, your table is ready for you, sir. Your regular table. Oh, thank you. And it's like they can't walk away from that. I mean, John McCain, for Christ's sake, had brain cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to retire? No, I'm going to hold on to that seat. I'm going to hold on to that seat until my very last breath. I can't give it up. Why? Because they're good civil servants? Is that what you're going to give me? Seriously? Oh my gosh. It simply amazes me. But, tax returns, Trump's tax returns.
Yeah. Well, I think they're getting a little bit desperate. Regardless of the fake poll numbers they put out, Biden is a huge liability for them.
I don't think they're fake. I mean, I think that they're padded a little bit, but I think there really is Trump fatigue out there. I do believe that, and what I'm worried is that the left is going to get rewarded for all of this behavior over the past 3 years, this bad behavior, and especially the last few months, where I wonder if there's going to be a certain segment of the electorate that's going to say, if we vote for Joe Biden, maybe all this craziness will calm down. And it's not.
No, I do think that's a persuasive argument. I actually had somebody bring that up to me the other day. Do you think that if Biden wins, this stuff calms down? No. There's nothing that shows me that it will. It's not like he's going to fulfill the promises these people want. And I think they're going to be angry either way. Well, and this doesn't stop.
I would play, if I were the Trump campaign, I would play the footage of Portland's mayor going out among his people. Antifa, Portland has been their playground for years. And he goes out there and he gets shouted down. They throw stuff at him. He has to bring private security with him, which I don't understand. It's a peaceful protest. Why does he need security at all? It's a bunch of peaceful
Mostly
people.
Peaceful. Mostly
peaceful. And, one guy in a megaphone yells, "Don't let him talk. He's a fascist." And a round of applause. The mayor of freaking Portland. The leftist, holding office, you would think, in the country, and not good enough. Some probably think he's a Nazi in that crowd.
Oh, yeah. I bet you they've called him that.
So what hope is there for you? There's no persuading these people. They're completely off the rails. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
And they've moved Joe Biden. Well, I shouldn't say they moved Joe Biden. They've moved the caricature of Joe Biden to the left. Joe Biden doesn't even know he's not going to Milwaukee. He had no idea. No idea. So, but his positions have moved quite a bit to the left. And there's not going to be a moderate Democrat. Really, I wouldn't think there's not going to be a moderate Democrat that's ever going to get the party's nomination, maybe again in our lifetime if this continues. And say what you want about Donald Trump. Oh, it's the same thing on the right. Donald Trump is not a right-wing, hardcore conservative. I don't know how anyone can argue that. Is he governing like one right now? Kinda. And it's only because you guys made him out to be Hitler before he even. It's so fun to watch. If they would have, like right now, the White House, and we're recording on Wednesday, August 5th. They're negotiating with Democratic leadership in Congress to try to come up with a stimulus bill. The Democrats want $3.5 trillion. Senate Republicans want a $1 trillion stimulus bill. If they would have done this from the very beginning and be like, 2017, January, we want to work with you, Mr. President. Let's cut some deals. He would have done it. And he would have put the Republican Congress at that time in a bind because Trump was popular with Republican voters. And it would have been Mitch McConnell standing in our way, Paul Ryan standing in our way. I've got a deal here with my buddy Chuck Schumer, who was my friend until I announced that, I was a Republican and I was running for president, and I actually beat Hillary Clinton. And Nancy Pelosi, they could have destroyed the Republican Party if they played their cards right. And instead, Orange Man bad. it simply amazes me. You've got you've got Portland canceling Kindergarten Cop, the movie, because it's too kind to law enforcement, and there are people in the Democratic base who are like, yeah, damn straight.
Mm-hmm. That'll help.
That's what you're going to negotiate with. These are people that are reasonable. Okay, good luck with that. That's why I don't understand Never Trump, and I don't understand, and I can't believe I've gone from I'm not going to vote for a Republican again to I will vote for every mediocre Republican on the ballot if they're gonna help, if they're gonna be the firewall,
the bulwark.
How dare you? Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. There is no making peace with the mob.
But what about voting? I mean, how do you feel about it? Because I know you. I've talked to plenty of libertarians that are saying I'm still not going to vote for him. You know.
Oh, I voted for him last time. I'll vote for him again.
Yeah. But
I don't have a problem with it.
Let me ask you this: I didn't vote for him. I voted against.
Oh no,
Hillary.
I voted for him.
You voted for him.
Oh, absolutely.
But
I thought he would be the destruction of the system, and I've been pretty dead on with that. So I think in this election, either way I'm voting for the destruction of the system. It's just about a timeline, is that, faster or slower. I feel like Biden kind of slows it down a little bit. Trump just accelerates it.
Well, one thing's for sure. When this is all said and done, I hope that the media as we know it, at least their credibility, will be completely destroyed. I got to read you this piece. I got to pull this up. I was so, and maybe it's just me. I expect this stuff, but every once in a while, it absolutely shocks me. This is from Newsweek. Are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Headline: Stephen Hawking named in Epstein files as court asks for photos, videos with Virginia. I don't know how it was. Geoffrey?
Yeah.
Stephen Hawking has been named in recent unsealed court documents involving disgraced child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein and his alleged collaborator,
Mm-hmm.
Ghislaine?
We can call her that because it's fun.
Ghislaine. It's fun.
I think she says Ghislaine.
Well, let's go with Ghislaine.
Yes.
Maxwell.
You're surprised by this?
No. I'm going to skip down 8 paragraphs.
Oh, okay.
Aside from Hawking, the other individuals listed in the request are Ghislaine, Alan Dershowitz, Jeffrey Epstein, Prince Andrew, Ron Eppinger, Bill Clinton, and Al Gore. We'll just throw the Bill Clinton and Al Gore at the end of that whole thing. In paragraph 8.
Of course.
And by the way, yeah, Bill Clinton and Al Gore.
Yeah.
Like they're state representatives from New York and not the former president and vice president of the United States.
Well, there was almost an entire media blackout on that on the left. That's why I love that Ground News site is now so addictive to me, because you can see that plotted out and you can actually share it and it'll create a little graphic for you that shows the coverage and where it stands and where it's coming from. And
I'm slaughtering so many of these people's names because I don't watch. I read all of my news now. I don't watch cable news. So I know that her name has been all over the news for like a year and a half. But
Ghislaine?
Yeah. Ghislaine.
Yeah. Well, because you haven't had to pronounce it, right?
Well, it's just like, oh, okay, Ghislaine. We'll go with Ghislaine because it's fun. I honestly, Tracy, you watch it more than I do. I don't watch cable news anymore. It's unwatchable.
I haven't turned it on in a long time. But while we were talking, I pulled up. This was maybe the day or the day after the story broke that Clinton was named in there. So here was the ground news report that they put out as far as coverage goes and who was covering that. So only 16% of the coverage was in left-wing sources, what they consider left. And you can see on this little chart, if you're watching, that what they're counting as left here is Newsweek. And then when they have this little symbol that looks like a newspaper, that's a blog or something like that. It's not an established network or a news source. So then they have Yahoo, the Daily News, and r.it, which I've never heard of. And that's it. That's the only people that covered the fact that Clinton was in it.
No CNN.
Nope.
No
New York Times.
Or New York
no
Times,
Washington Post. No,
Yeah,
you've got
New
New
York
York.
Post.
Yeah, New York Post is on the right.
And they get pretty deep into like who they're saying is covering a story. I mean, that GP, I'm assuming, is Gateway Pundit, right?
Yes. Yeah, they cover a lot of sites on it. And I don't know if this is linkable. Let me see if that's clickable. I think it just sends me right to Ground News. But yeah, I'm right back at Ground. Well, that's interesting.
That is amazing. You've got a former president of the United States accused of being on the island.
Yeah.
And nothing.
No, and that comes from Virginia Jeffrey, or however you say her last name. That was part of her interview transcript that was put out. She said that she saw him on the island, him being Bill Clinton, with 2 young girls. And there's apparently somebody else that has said they saw him there as well. I can't remember if it was a groundskeeper, but they just, Clinton I was never there.
Think about that. Any right-wing politician, there can be one obscure accusation. And if that politician has any power at all, it is on the front page of the New York Times and the Washington Post, and it's all over CNN.
Well, they keep trying to link Trump to Epstein.
Yeah, because of a picture.
Well, they were friendly for a while, but then they had a feud over property down in Florida. So he wasn't rumored to have been on the island. We know Bill Clinton was on that plane a bunch of times.
What is it? What happens when you get money?
It's money and power.
Regular sex just isn't good enough. I mean, you're a billionaire. You can pretty much have anything you want and not like anything illegal. You're a billionaire. You can walk into any bar and be like, huh, here I am.
Yeah.
It's not good. I guess that gets tiresome.
Yes, they're bored. They're going to take it up a notch. It's just so disgusting. Yeah. But no, we can't afford to talk about that at all.
You must think men are absolute pigs.
Yeah. I'm in touch with the reality of the situation. But in this case, Ghislaine is involved in every one of these things. I read portions of Virginia's, sworn statements. Ghislaine was, yes. She's involved in yeah. She was the one out recruiting these girls.
Well, I knew that, but I didn't know if she was just trying to.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
Jeffrey, or it was.
No, she was in on
that action too.
She was in on it.
Wow.
So to think this is just unique to men is incorrect. No, it's creepy and sick.
Well, we're already an hour and some odd. We're an hour and 8 minutes in, but I wanted to ask you before we go, because you have a Hollywood background.
Mm-hmm.
You had worked on plenty of sets, movie sets. You did work on one television show, right?
Probably more than one over the course of time. Yes.
So what's your take on the whole Ellen story and the toxic work environment on the set? You're hearing former employees coming out and saying that there was a toxic work environment there, and you're now seeing guests saying, "Oh yeah, I can totally see that." I think her former DJ on the show, because I don't know if you know this or not about Ellen, she likes to dance.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody loves it. The crowd goes wild. They'll put, the DJ will put on some Rob bass, It Takes Two, and then all of a sudden there's Ellen dancing, and everybody loves to watch Ellen dance. And you look at that and you think, oh, there's no way. Look at how much fun Ellen is, and everybody looks like they're having just a gas, just a blast. What a fantastic time! It must be so much fun working on the Ellen show. And you're hearing about all this that was going on allegedly behind the scenes. You buy it? And do you think that Ellen knew about it?
If you're asking me if it's possible, I would say yes. And if it was going on, she knew about it.
I would think. I mean, unless you're so, like, if you're one of these hosts, and it wouldn't surprise me if she's one of them, that just shows up, skates, and what are we doing today? Oh, it's all written for me, like Krusty the Clown. Just kind of whip in there going, hey, and bye, gone. And that's the end of the show, to where she's, there 2 hours a day, and then she's gone. But you would think somebody that had known her for a while would be whispering in her ear, hey, you need to know some of the shit that's going on.
You would think. But who knows? I mean, maybe she has a wicked temper and nobody wants to bring it to her attention because they'll get their head bitten off. I mean, it's, we can speculate. We have no clue.
Well, that's what's fun about doing
beyond
shows
the realm
like
of
this.
possibility.
We can completely speculate. That's what's fun. It's fun to speculate.
Have I seen gross stuff go on a set? Heck yeah.
By stars, by producers.
I mean, it kind of runs the gamut. I wouldn't say anything like super egregious. And I have a very high threshold for this stuff. Like, I don't get offended. I don't get upset.
Sure.
So, yeah.
There's no doubt
I've been around toxicity. Sure.
I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that there are probably, and I'm not condoning this, I'm just saying what I would think as someone who has been in radio for 11 years and has seen some of the behavior on Radio Row and after hours in media bars, where you've got a bunch of media people and so many American Express cards for tabs that are open behind the bar that would make your head spin. I've seen the behavior, thinking, okay, there's some slap ass going on. There's some inappropriate comments. There are things that women are putting up with that if they were in a factory, the woman would turn around and break the guy's arm. But in that environment, there's a lot of and moving away.
It depends. I've been in situations where I've seen the women be the aggressive ones. So,
see, and that's what that. Okay, I'm a producer, or I am. Let's say you asked me earlier. The name of the show that Larry Wilmore hosted. And the name of the show, I had it pulled up earlier.
You've already forgotten
and
it.
I already forgot because it meant so much to me. It was called, gosh, he was part of the Bernie Mac show. Did you know that?
No.
Oh, come on. Where are
Is your
you?
Google machine broken?
Well,
I could have re-Googled this by now. All right, who's going to win?
The Nightly Show.
Okay.
With Larry Wilmore. Say it was Larry left and it became the Nightly Show with Fingers Malloy. And I got my own Comedy Central show. And I'm at some political events, the one I'm thinking of, I was at the 2016 Iowa caucuses, but the one that I remember really well, I went to cover the New Hampshire primary in 2012, and I was in the media hotel, and all the big name Fox people. Oh my gosh, I'm standing right next to Megyn Kelly, and there's Chris Matthews walking. So I'm the new host of the Nightly Show, and you've got some hot 25-year-old who wants to be on my show and is aggressive. And if I'm a single guy, it's going to be hard to turn that down. And then, so 6 months later, you're accused of doing something when she was the aggressor the entire time because she wants to be on your show. You have her on once or twice. She's not on anymore. And then she says, oh, he made sexual advances at me. We had a relationship, and then when it was over, I wasn't on the show anymore. Yeah, or even if she's that honest, it would just be, oh, he made sexual advances, towards me, and then when I ended it, I was no longer on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what a shitty position to be in if the woman is the aggressor.
Yeah.
I mean, what? And listen, I'm just making these comments as some naive person that isn't the host of the nightly show. Most of the time, it is men who are being pigs and doing things that they shouldn't do. But it's interesting that you say so many times you saw the woman being the aggressor. Now, is it a woman in power being aggressive, or is it a woman that's trying to
In
advance
several
her
instances,
career?
I'm thinking of, no, it was never career. Well, I mean, it's possible to be in power and want to go further up the ladder, I suppose.
But you
'Cause I'm
saw
thinking of
women with power.
not taking advantage of the power, trying to get further up the ladder.
Okay, not. I'm a producer of a show, and wow, there's a really, really good looking guy on the set, and I'm going to
Right.
make it known that we need to hang out if he wants to keep his job. You didn't see much of that.
No.
It was, I'm the producer of the show, and now I want to work for the network. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So I wonder if that changes. If women
what
can still
changes?
get if women can still get away with it using their power.
I don't know. I mean, I guess this Ellen thing will be a case study in that.
I saw the first piece today
Uh-huh.
where people are talking about replacements for Ellen, and I was like,
They're going to cancel her. This is great.
you think that's going to happen? You think she's going to lose her show?
I don't
think she can-
know. I mean, I think Guiltotine's powers just increase every day, fingers. So I would recommend, I know I've talked about Tim Dillon before on the show. He's a stand-up comedian that I just absolutely adore, and I think his podcast is fantastic and wonderful. And he put out a new episode over the weekend about this Ellen thing that I was in tears watching, because he's imagining that it looks like Abu Ghraib behind the scenes. It's like, he had his producer pull up the pictures of the pyramids that they were having the prisoners form. And he's like, then there's this famous picture of this guy with a hood over his head in the shower. He's like, that's an intern. He's like, imagine that all of this is going on behind the scenes. And then here comes Ellen dancing out. But I mean, there's some weird stuff with her going down the rabbit hole crap. I mean, did you know that the security guard from the Las Vegas shooting, that was one of the few people that talked to the media, do you know that the only interview he gave was on Ellen's show? Doesn't that seem rather strange?
Wow, I didn't know that. Why
So
do you think
Tim's
that is?
just like, she's a CIA operative. This is Operation Mockingbird continuing to this day. That's why she's sitting up in the press box, yucking it up with George W. Bush.
Stop it.
Why not? If you just start from the premise that everybody's in the CIA, it makes it a little easier.
We're InfoWars now. Oh,
Yeah. Hey, come on.
Ellen's CIA. We all know that. You know that. Everybody knows it.
Why is she chummy with the Bushes? You know, Poppy Bush was the head of the CIA.
And which is
It all fits, fingers. It's all it has to do is she's pictured chuckling with him and then defended him.
And which is one of the reasons why he lived to be 98 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I thoroughly believe this is with all presidents of the United States, and especially ones that used to run the CIA. In George H.W. Bush's case, they did so much shit. They're scared to die. That's my theory. Like, they're scared to meet their maker. Like, oh my gosh, they will cling to every last. I mean, think about, you got, Reagan. He lived to be 94 or something. You got Gerald Ford, Richard Nixon.
Jimmy Carter's still kicking around.
Oh my God, Jimmy Carter. He's what, 92 at this point? I think.
It's gotta be.
I mean,
I'm Googling. Clinton's in his 70s. So Carter was way before him. Why can't I just see when he was born? He was born in 1924.
he's 95.
Yes.
He's going to be 96 in October.
Yep.
He's had
Kissinger's still alive.
Oh my God.
I mean, my God.
I mean, if that voice doesn't tear. You talk like this.
Right.
It's like that guy sounds like the voice of Satan. If you ever were gonna pick one, it was that.
And he is 97.
And he used to be in the hot tub with Barbara Walters. Was Barbara Walters CIA? Is that what we're going?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Just
She's
think
still
about
alive?
it.
I can't remember.
Yeah, she is. I believe. Let me just double check that one. I'm pretty sure she's still alive. Yeah, she's still alive. She's 90. She'll be 91 in September.
See, now, do you think this is because they're scared to die? Or these aren't normal people? And
No,
by
I
normal
think
people,
they've got
I mean,
some fancy ass drugs that they get, and they bathe in the blood of
well, that
who
and
knows what. And
I think one of the things that if you can stay relatively healthy
mm-hmm.
and have a purpose in your life,
mm-hmm.
that's what keeps you going too. I mean, when you're Barbara Walters and you're on television until you're 87 years old and have a reason to get up every day. I mean, God bless Joan Rivers. If she hadn't had that botched surgery, she would still be alive today.
Yeah.
You know, and she was still very relevant at her age. She wasn't quite that old, but she was, I believe, in her late 70s and still killing it. You know, when you are a former president and you've always got someone serving you, caring about what you think, go out and give speeches for $150,000, $200,000. Every election cycle, you get to give a convention speech at your national convention. There's a purpose
Mm-hmm.
to your life. It's not like you're some ham and egger that worked 35 years in a factory and then you retire and you don't have a purpose anymore and you die 4 years later.
Maybe that's why they don't want to retire.
That could be it. You know, listen, as someone who knows a thing or two about factory work, I can't tell you how many people I've come across who worked in a factory for 30 years. And so much of working in that environment is just getting through. If I just get through to Friday, then I got the weekend. If I just get through to the rest of the year, I've got Christmas. If I just get through until I retire. And then there's no more getting through. And then they die 3-4 years after they retire. You know, it's just getting through. Okay, I got through. And then there's nothing there after the happiness that they thought they were going to get. They weren't happy throughout their whole life. Why should they be happy in retirement? And then there are other people who will stay in the factory. I know of at least 2 people that I've come across. One was 77. One was 82 years old, still working in an automotive factory. She was a janitor.
Oh, wow.
She would push a cart around and she would be responsible for cleaning one break room because that's all she could do. And people would ask her, why don't you retire? She was collecting 2 pensions, collecting her paycheck and Social Security. The woman didn't need any money. She's like, if I retire, I'll die.
She just wanted to have some purpose.
And we're all thinking, you know, whenever we would talk to her, you know, you can retire and find something else. You can volunteer work.
Mm-hmm.
Find another purpose. Oh, no, I'll die if I retire. So they hang on. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's why Orrin Hatch stayed a United States Senator until his early 80s. You know, it's a mystery to me. I don't understand it, but so Ellen's CIA. That's what we're going to go
I just Googled it and I found all kinds of fun stuff.
Oh, well, go
There's
ahead.
so many people that have written blog posts about this.
Ellen's
Well,
CIA.
this is interesting. So I'm reading from some website called radiopatriot.net, which I assume is highly credible.
Yeah.
But I had forgotten about this. Did you know, they say, a leaked 2009 memo in an email exchange with then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton singled out the Ellen DeGeneres show which could be used to, quote, amplify and deliver messages that advance policymaking. The memo stated that Ellen DeGeneres is willing to use her platform to promote the agenda of the State Department. So this was one of the WikiLeaks. Oh no, they're saying this was released as a part of the Judicial Watch.
Well, that doesn't surprise me though. But okay, I will be friendly to a Democratic administration.
This is what the note was. It's a memo, and then they just have a little what are those called? Bullet point. Ellen. While Ellen does not spend many shows dealing with serious foreign policy issues, were you aware of that?
Really? Because that's where I would turn to. If something were going on in Iraq, I would think, what is Ellen's take on this?
She does use her show to support important causes and raise money for them. Further, her show is syndicated internationally to 10 countries, including Canada, Australia, and India. She's a big supporter of Hillary Clinton and is willing to use her platform to help promote the agenda of the new Secretary of State. So they kind of classified that a little bit differently.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, to point out friendlies,
yes,
on television, that doesn't surprise me.
No, it doesn't surprise me either.
I wonder if she knows about the salad bar at the Council on Foreign Relations. I want to know. Do they have croutons?
Probably.
Their fat-free ranch there? That's what I want to know. These are the questions I want answers. I got a good laugh out of our guest when I asked that question, but she never answered it.
She won't. She's sworn to secrecy.
All right, anything else?
Well, there was a story that I really wanted to get to that comes out of Australia that I found via Ground News. I'll do it real fast for everybody, but I thought this was interesting. I put it up on our locals page there, which we've been growing slowly, and I might start posting more, and maybe Fingers will chime in every once in a while. But I thought this was quite interesting considering you're still hearing like, oh, Trump botched this whole thing, this whole coronavirus response. He just didn't do enough. And then we see the left-wing governors in our country doing crazy shit. Well, this guy in Victoria, so I guess in Australia, what I'm gathering is they don't call them provinces, they call them states like we do. So the state of Victoria is where Melbourne is. Mm-hmm. So the headline from this, and this is from abc.net.au. So this is Australia, ABC. Victoria records, get this, Fingers, 439 coronavirus cases as Daniel Andrews announces tougher penalties for breaches. So Victorian Premier, so that basically he's their governor, Daniel Andrews has announced tough new penalties for people who fail to self-isolate when required, as the state records a whopping 439 new cases. So they highlight kind of the key points. So Victorians who are not at home after being instructed to self-isolate will face on-the-spot fines of 4,959 Australian dollars and up to 20,000 for repeated breaches. They are going, yes. So here's what they're doing too. This comes, him announcing that they're going to get even worse. It comes after the Australian Defence Force. So this is their, these are military looking dudes. And health officials conducted 3,000 door knocks of people who were supposed to be self-isolating and found more than 800 of them were not at home.
Door to door.
To check and make sure that you're self-isolating. So he said Victorians who fail to self-isolate will receive an on-the-spot fine of basically $5,000. So this is his quote: "If you are supposed to be at home and you are not, then you face the prospect of a fine of up to $5,000. If they were particularly selfish at their behavior, like for instance, going to work when you have the virus, then there is an alternative pathway, and that is of course taking you to the magistrate's court, where the maximum penalty can be applied to you is $20,000. So they've got some photos in here where there's a dude full fatigues standing there with a little bean counter guy with a clipboard, and they're going door to door. So it gets worse. Police forced to smash car windows They were forced to smash car windows because of non-compliance. Excuse me? So they say Police Minister Lisa Neville said Victoria Police would also have the power to detain people if they continued breaching self-isolation orders. She says, we don't want to do that, but Victoria Police, under the new powers, will have that ability to not just fine, but ultimately for those who continue to blatantly and deliberately breach those self-isolation rules, they can do that, be detained, she says. So, and then here's another quote of hers. I love this. On at least 4 occasions in the last week, we've had to smash the windows of cars and pull people out to provide details. I don't understand how that sentence even makes sense.
Well, it does make sense. In China,
this is Australia. We don't want to be doing this, they continue, but people have to absolutely understand there are consequences for your actions. And if you're not doing the right thing, we will not hesitate to issue infringements, to arrest you, to detain you where it's appropriate. It gets worse.
how could it possibly get worse?
Well, this is what happened. Remember, the United States are the only ones with this freaking out and fighting over masks. Keep that in the back of your head. Chief Commissioner Patton said a 38-year-old woman who was approached by the police for not wearing a mask assaulted the officers and smashed the head of a 26-year-old female officer into the pavement several times.
Now that's the Australia I've grown to love.
And so they have the entire, all of Melbourne's on a curfew from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. Yep. Yeah.
Now, my question is, how many leftists in the United States would cheer if this were implemented here?
That's what I wonder. Like, is this what you would like? Is this what you wanted Trump to do? This is what I think they believe Trump would do. And this is going on in Australia. I mean, that is completely shocking to me. So now let me tell you, the 456 people are in the hospital with the virus in the state of Victoria. 38 of them are in intensive care. This doesn't seem like a big problem, but we're smashing windows. We had to do it 4 times last week and yank people out of their cars. You've got to be shitting me. Where are the videos of this?
Right.
Holy hell.
And what kind of money are they collecting? The revenue generation. I mean, I'm assuming that it's just like everywhere else where state and local governments are hurting because everything was shut down, so the tax revenue isn't coming in. Is this one way of trying to recoup some of it? Can you imagine just someone knocking on your door and forget $20,000 fine?
Yeah.
20 grand?
That's if you repeatedly offend.
Wow.
It's really wild. I thought somewhere in here they had the number of fines they've issued, but I guess not. Because I found other stories too, because I got this off of Ground News, so there were several different outlets reporting
I would
it.
love to find the statistics. I saw someone break down the numbers where if you eliminate the numbers from New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, the numbers in the United States deaths per million were under Spain, the United Kingdom, Italy. But since New York and New Jersey in particular, especially New York, completely botched the handling of this from the very beginning, it has just completely spiked the numbers in the United States and I shouldn't say because I think that people have the right to leave their homes and go to property in other states, but how the virus spread out of New York because people fled New York in the beginning to go to Florida and other states where they own property. New York was, I hate to say ground zero because that's maybe in poor taste, but but I mean it was in a lot of ways the launch point for much of what's happening in the rest of the country.
Yeah.
New York has been a hot mess, and yet you turn on CNN and Andrew Cuomo is America's governor.
Yep. And so I did find it was right the next line that I didn't read, fingers, in that last story. The police have issued, this is back to Australia, 161 fines in the past 24 hours, including 60 for not wearing masks. But then to your current point, this was a graph somebody put together using data from Johns Hopkins. So it was updated, it's current as of August the 3rd, 2020. And what they did was normalize fatalities by population per million using American states versus the top 10 hardest hit countries. So New Jersey leads the pack in the entire world with 1,783 deaths per million.
Wow.
Then right behind it is New York with 1,681. Then Connecticut and Massachusetts are tied both with 1,243 deaths apiece per million.
This goes back to the ridiculousness of this whole narrative. Okay, imagine if Trump used his phone and his pen when this first started hitting and went on complete lockdown mode for the entire country, even though it was most of the spike was in New York and New Jersey. The left would have gone absolutely bananas at the fascist in the White House, Orange Man bad. This is what he's going to use this to
take a military dictatorship.
Yes.
Yeah. No, and they keep saying, you know, if there's somebody that did this right, show us who it is. Because they were pointing out the Japanese did it right, and the Japanese have just had a spike, and they're kind of tightening back. The Australians supposedly had done it right. Now they're busting out people's car windows, you know, and dragging them through the broken glass out of the car because they're violating whatever crazy lockdown orders they have. There's just nothing to point to say these guys did everything absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And there's no way that you can then extrapolate that we would have done, if we had done whatever it was that they had done, that things would have worked out the same. There's so many variables in play here.
And again, how can you, that's the beauty of doing this state by state. How can you have a lockdown in South Dakota like you would in New York? There's no justification for it at all.
No, none. And your state made it in here, fingers. You guys are just a little bit better than Mexico, or worse than Mexico, excuse me.
I've been saying that for decades.
And Pennsylvania is right there with Sweden, who didn't lock down. We're worse than Sweden. I know, it's unbelievable. It's just
they just want a leftist strongman in the White House. That's what they want.
Well, they're not going to get it this time around.
We'll see.
No, who do you think they slide in there? You think Susan Rice meets your definition of leftist strongman?
I think Kamala Harris could.
She could.
With that laugh. I mean, I honestly, I didn't think there would be a more fake, annoying politician than Hillary Clinton, but Kamala Harris. I mean, complete phony, and that laugh just grabs you by the spine and shakes you. Okay. I'm not supposed to point that out, though, because that's sexist.
It's fine. We don't care about those sorts of things here. We're busy working to get Ellen canceled.
I will be amazed if that happens. But in 2020, anything's possible. Anything else?
Nah. We've gone into enough rabbit holes on this one.
You can catch the Enough Already podcast. You know it. You caught it today.
Wow.
You know where to find it. But for those that just came across this and you want to subscribe, we're on your favorite podcast platform. Check us out on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review to get more people to watch and listen to the Enough Already podcast. Watch it on YouTube and BitChute. But you'll see more fine programming where we accuse multitudes of people being part of this, as being part of the CIA.
I'm
Final
starting
thoughts?
to suspect you, Fingers.
I actually know if there's a salad bar at the Council on Foreign Relations. I just pretend that I don't.
Yeah.
Final thoughts?
Was the ranch fat-free or not?
It had flakes of real gold in it. Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. They also have a soft serve ice cream bar. She is Tracy L. Connors. I'm Fingers Malloy. We'll be back soon with an all new Enough Already.